Welcome to the Effortless English Show with the world's #1 English teacher, AJ Hogue, where AJ's more than 40 million students worldwide finally learn English once and for all, without the boring textbooks, classrooms, and grammar drills. Here's AJ with a quick piece to help you learn to speak fluent English effortlessly.
Hi, I'm AJ Hogue, the author of Effortless English. Learn to speak English like a native. Join my VIP program. Join my VIP program. Speak English fluently, powerfully, confidently at effortlessenglishclub.com. effortlessenglishclub.com. Now, also, I'm giving you my audiobook free. My audiobook free for you. It's a $20 value. I'm giving it to you as a gift. How do you get my audiobook? Free audiobook. Go to my website, effortlessenglishclub.com / book. That's where you get my audiobook for free. Giving it to you free. effortlessenglishclub.com /book. B-O-O-K, book. Enjoy the audiobook. Live on Facebook for our book club show. Speaking of books, book club show continuing with this great book by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Learning how to be rich, learning how to be financially free, and learning English at the same time. Good combination. Before we start, I just want to say, as always, welcome to everyone who's watching live on Facebook. Welcome live Facebook viewers. Fernanda, there in Brazil, always joining. And of course, we have people from many other countries all saying hello, hello, hello. So hello to you. You know how this works now, Kurdistan, India, etc. You know how this works. First, I'll do the book club lesson. I'll go through the chapter. I'll teach you. And then later in the show, I will answer your questions live. So let's just go ahead and start, shall we? Let's begin. We are on Chapter 7 today. Chapter 7 of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If you're watching on the video, I will show the book. All right. Here we go. Chapter 7, the title, Overcoming Obstacles. Obstacles. Something blocking you, something stopping you from doing what you want to do. And, of course, we know Robert Kiyosaki, his writing style, what does he do? He always puts the main idea, the big idea, right at the beginning. So here's the main idea of this chapter. The primary, meaning the first, most important, the primary difference between a rich person and a poor person is how they manage fear. That's an interesting statement. I think it's very important. Very, very important. So listen to this again. This is one of the most important points of the whole book. I agree with this, by the way. I agree with it. The primary difference between a rich person and a poor person, what's the difference? Why do some people get rich and some people poor? He's saying the most important reason, how they manage fear. How they manage fear. How they deal with fear. How they handle fear. That's the #1 difference, he says. Of course, you need skills and lots of other things like he's mentioned, but he's saying this is the main big one. Okay, so that's the main idea of this chapter. We'll come back to this main idea many times in this chapter. Going forward, he says there are 5. So that's #1, how to manage fear. But then he says there are actually 5 main reasons why financially literate people may still not develop abundant asset columns. Ooh, that's a hard sentence. Let's start in the beginning again of this sentence. There are 5 reasons why financially literate people, meaning people who know, people who read this book, for example, and understand the basic ideas. They understand basic ideas of investing. They understand the basic ideas of business. They understand assets and liabilities, right? Income and expenses. The things we are learning in this book are important, very important. But what he's saying is that some people know all this stuff. They learn it, right? Some people will read this book and learn all these points. Some of them will become rich, some will not. Why? They have the same knowledge. What's the difference? What's the difference? Why do some have the same knowledge, but some become rich and some do not? And he's saying, here's the reason. It's actually 5 reasons. Now, he already said the top one is fear. Dealing with fear is number 1. But then he has 4 more. Number 2 is cynicism. I'll teach you the meaning of that word in a minute. Laziness is number 3. Bad habits, number 4. Arrogance is number 5. These are the things that stop people from being rich after they learn the basic ideas, okay? So he's saying it's not enough just to know the ideas, just to know the knowledge. You also have to overcome these 5. And what are these? These are mental and emotional issues. It's so interesting to me that we keep coming back to the same idea in this book, because I've seen the same thing with English. I've seen the same thing in so many parts of life, and probably all parts of life, that ultimately, finally, at the center, it's your mind. It's your mind that creates the results. Success or failure, happiness or being unhappy. That ultimately it always comes back to your own mind and how well you discipline and control and master your own mind, your own thoughts, your own emotions. This is what he's saying. This is the difference between getting rich and not. It's your mastery of your mind, your thoughts, and your emotions. I mean, that's what all of these 5 things are. Fear, an emotion. Cynicism, it's an attitude. Laziness, it's a habit. It's kind of an emotion, energy. Bad habits. Again, these are caused by your thoughts. And arrogance is an attitude. Interesting. Very interesting. Let's go forward now. So next, he talks about fear. So we're going to start with number 1, fear. Let's learn more about this fear, because this is the most important, he says. I've never met a rich person who has never lost money. That's an interesting statement. He says, I have never met a rich person who has never lost money. A positive way to say that, all rich people have lost money at some time in the past. You want a super famous example? The President of the United States, Donald Trump, lost a huge amount of money in his past. Huge amount. Big losses in some of his past businesses. Well, Robert Kiyosaki is saying, actually, that is true of all big business people. People who are really successful. At some time, all of them have had failures. Some very big ones. At some time, they've all had failures, is what he's saying. He says, I don't know any rich people who never failed. He says, it's not the fear, it's not the failure. The failure is not important. So many people are afraid of it, but the failure is not important. It's how you handle failure that makes the difference. How do you deal with it afterwards? That's what's important. How do you manage the fear? How do you manage the failure? That's the key point. And then he talks about, he says, all people are afraid of losing money. Right? Everybody's afraid of losing money. Rich people are afraid of losing money. Poor people are afraid of losing money. Middle-class people are afraid of losing money. Nobody likes to lose money. Of course not. Nobody likes to fail. So he's like, it's fine if you're afraid of losing money. That's okay. If you're thinking of starting a business, it's okay if you're afraid of failing. Yeah, of course you are. Everybody is. Everybody's afraid of failing. Everyone has that fear inside them. So don't feel bad if you have fear. That's normal. Everybody has it. He's saying but then what do you do next? How do you handle the fear? That's what's important. So next he gives a story about Texas, which is interesting. He says, my rich dad always talked about Texas and Texans. So his rich dad liked to talk about Texas. This is a kind of a story to give us a point about failing and fear. He says, think like a Texan. Think like a Texan. What's a Texan? Texas is a state in the United States. You probably know. Texas. It's a big state. Big. Second biggest state in the United States. Very big state. Texas. Texans are kind of famous in America for being, for being independent. They have their own culture. Kind of a unique, special culture, an attitude that's different than the rest of the country. And that's what Rich Dad tells him. The people in Texas, especially the business people in Texas, they think differently than other Americans. And he says this is good. And he says you want to think like a Texan. Why? He says in Texas, everything is bigger. When Texans win, they win big. When they lose big. It's spectacular. Interesting. So he's saying Texans think big. They like to think big. They take big risks. They want to win big or lose big. They don't like small. They don't want to just make a little money, and they don't want to just lose a little money. They want everything big, big, big. And this is kind of famous in the United States, the Texans. Everything's big in Texas. This is kind of an idea in the United States. Next, he says, Texans are proud when they win, of course, right? They're happy, they're proud when they win. But this is what's different about Texans. They brag when they lose. They talk about losing. They don't feel embarrassed about it. He says, Texas business people say, if you're going to go broke, if you're going to lose your money, go big. Go big. So in the Texas business people, they don't feel bad about losing money. They only feel bad about not trying something big. If they lose a big amount of money, they will tell stories. They're almost proud of it because it shows they were not afraid. Right? So they have this idea of big. They're not afraid to lose big. Losing small, that's not good because it shows fear. This is the Texas attitude. Next, Robert Kiyosaki says, winning usually follows losing. Now that's really true. I find that is also true in my own life. And this is more than money. This is about everything in life, I think. Winning usually follows losing. That's an interesting thing to remember. Winning follows losing usually in life. So it means that to win, to have a big success, often we need to have a failure or several failures before. Why? Well, number one, because we need to get experience. And why do we need experience? To learn. We learn from failures. Successful people fail and then learn from the failures, and then that leads them to big successes. That's exactly right. Definitely in my own life, I see that in my own financial life, business life. Exactly right. Effortless English is not my first time to try a business. I had a few other little ones I tried, and they failed. And then he tells another story about Texas, the most famous story about Texas. He says, Rich Dad tells him, if you want to learn about Texas, go to San Antonio. That's a city. Visit the Alamo. The Alamo. Every American knows about the Alamo. Definitely every Texan knows about the Alamo. They made a movie about it several years ago. So what's the story of the Alamo? Why is it important for Texas culture? Well, the Alamo is a building. It's actually quite small. I've been there. I've seen it. It's not very big. It's quite small. But it was a fort. It was a building for people to fight inside of. And at the beginning of Texas history, Texas wanted to be independent, but they were part of Mexico. They actually were part of Mexico, not America. They started as part of Mexico. And then they said, we're becoming independent. And the Mexican government didn't like that. So the Mexican government, the Mexican army invaded Texas. They attacked Texas. And the Texans fought back. And one of the first battles was at the Alamo, this little building in San Antonio, Texas, the Alamo. And what happened at the Alamo? Well, they were surrounded, the Texans. There were only a few of them, not many. And they were surrounded by this huge Mexican army. And the Mexican army said, surrender. Surrender. You have no chance to survive. And the Texans inside the Alamo, they said, no. They would not surrender. They knew they were going to die. They knew they had no chance. But they decided to fight to the death instead of surrendering. And they all did. They all died. Every one. They all got killed. Okay, so the Alamo was a defeat. It was a big defeat. It was a terrible, tragic defeat. Every Texan inside, every fighter inside was killed. Completely destroyed. Everyone died. Including some famous people, by the way. Some famous people in American history were killed at the Alamo. Well, guess what? This became a favorite story. And in the Texans, what did they do? Did they cry about it? Well, maybe they cried at the time, but they decided to be proud of the big failure. And they had they would yell before they would fight. They would say, remember the Alamo! Remember the Alamo! And they would go and fight against the Mexican army. Remember the Alamo! So they took this big failure, the Alamo, and they made it into their battle cry, right? They decided because they felt like they were proud of those people who died at the Alamo. They lost in a big way. They refused to surrender. So they said, yes, remember the Alamo! And this is a very famous sentence in American history because, of course, Texas later joined America. But really Texan history because at that time they were not American. At that time they were independent. They were Texans. And so remember the Alamo. Very, very, very famous. So again, it's showing that the Texans, right, they had this huge failure and then they used it to motivate themselves. That's the point. They used the big failure, everybody dying, losing the big battle in the beginning. They used that big failure for motivation. And later, of course, they did win. They defeated the Mexican army and they became independent. All right, so then next we say, here's another thing that Rich Dad used to say to Robert. He said, Texans don't bury their failures. They don't hide their failures. They don't try to hide their failures. They're inspired by their failures. They're motivated by their failures. They use their failures and make them into battle cries. Remember the Alamo. Failure inspires Texans to become winners. That's a great sentence. Failure inspires Texans to become winners. They use the failure as motivation to become winners later. And then he says, it's not just for Texas. It's not just for Texas people. All winners, all big successful people in life, they use the same formula. They don't hide their failures. They don't try to pretend they didn't fail. Oh, I don't want anybody to know. No, they talk about them. They're almost proud of their failures. They use them as motivation to become winners. And then we have this nice sentence. Failure inspires winners. Failure defeats losers. It's not failure. Failure is not the problem. Of course, this is more than money. This is life in general, right? This is about all parts of life. Failure inspires winners. Failure defeats losers. The failure is not the problem. Everybody fails in life at some time. Everybody tries something and fails sometime. It happens. What do you do next? Do you get more inspired, more motivated to learn and to try again? Then you're a winner. You will have success eventually. Or do you just cry and then stop trying? That's what losers do. That's what he's saying. Okay, so that's the end of fear. That's how you handle fear. That's how you handle fear. You accept fear. You will be afraid, and then you just try anyway. And then when the failure comes, you will have failures. You use it to inspire yourself, to work harder, to motivate yourself, to keep trying. Next, we go to number 2, the number 2 reason that people don't get rich, and it's cynicism. Cynicism. What is cynicism? Cynicism is basically a very negative attitude about everything. It's pessimism. Pessimism. It's negative thinking. I can't do it. It's impossible. Oh, it's too difficult. That attitude is cynicism. The adjective is cynical. It's a cynical attitude. It means you're negative about everything. Cynical. Pessimistic about everything. Cynical. So next, Robert says, well, basically, how do you deal with this? He says, well, cynicism basically is just fear. So he's saying this number two problem, cynicism, pessimism, it's actually the same as number 1. Why are people so negative and pessimistic? Because they're afraid. They use it as an excuse not to try because they're afraid. They're afraid of failure. That's why they do it. Then he makes a nice little point. He says, cynicism keeps people poor, but the real world is waiting for you to get rich. The real world is waiting for you to get rich. That's a very optimistic idea, very positive, that the world is waiting for you to be rich. The world is waiting for you to be financially free. Interesting. Here's another sentence. It's very nice. Cynics. A cynic that's a noun. It describes a kind of person. A cynic is a pessimistic person. A cynic is someone who's always negative. You may know some people like this, right? They're just negative about everything. Very pessimistic. Nothing is good. Nothing can be done. Nothing will work. That's a cynic. So he's saying, here's the difference. Cynics criticize, right? Cynical people, cynics, they always criticize everything. But winners analyze. That's the difference. Cynics criticize, winners analyze. You understand criticize, but what's analyze mean? Analyze just means looking at the problem and looking for solutions, looking for opportunities. That's what winners do. Cynics only focus on the problem. They only focus on the bad part, only the problem. But the winners, they look at the problem too, but the winners also analyze and look for the solution. The opportunities. That's one of the big differences. And next he gives a little story that Rich Dad would tell him. Another example. Colonel Sanders. You probably know Colonel Sanders. Kentucky Fried Chicken. Now a big international brand of restaurants. Chicken. They have it here in Japan. Kentucky Fried Chicken. Well, the man who created Kentucky Fried Chicken was named Colonel Sanders. Here's his story. At the age of 66 years old. Some people think that's old. 66. He lost his business, and he just had a small check from the government, just a little money coming from the government. So basically he was poor. He was very poor. Lost his business and became poor at the age of 66. What did he do? He went around the country, he went around America, selling his recipe for fried chicken. So he went around selling his recipe and creating these restaurants, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Most people said no. It says 1,009 times people said no. Over 1,000 people said no, no, no to him until finally one person said yes and had a partnership with him. So he kept trying 1,000 times. No, 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 until finally one person said yes. And then, of course, he became a big, rich super millionaire in his 60s. And Rich Dad says, most people at that age think they're finished. They think they're done. He just got started. So that's a nice story. Next section is called Overcoming Laziness, another problem that stops people. We all know about laziness. The most common form of laziness by staying busy. That's an interesting phrase. So he said one problem people do is they're so busy, they fill their time. They fill their time every day doing stuff that's less important. So they stay busy doing lots of things that are less important, and they never have time to get rich. They never have time to invest. They never have time to start an extra business, a side business, a small business, a part-time business. He says, actually, this is a kind of laziness, avoiding what's important by being busy with other stuff. And what do people do? They're busy working at a job. They're busy watching TV, right? Movies, whatever. Next, there's a nice quote in this section. It says, Rich Dad believed that you should never say, I can't afford it. I can't afford it. What does that sentence mean? I can't afford it. It means I don't have enough money to buy it. So for example, let's say you dream of having a Ferrari. Some people like cars, fast cars. It's okay. So maybe you dream, you say, you see a Ferrari on the street. I want a Ferrari. And then you say to yourself, I can't afford it, right? It's too expensive. I can't afford it. I don't have enough money to buy it. So he said, Rich Dad said, never say that. Never say it to yourself. Never say it to someone else. Never say, I can't afford it. I don't have enough money. Never say that. Interesting. Why? He says, because it turns your brain off. He says, if you say that, it just turns your brain off. I can't afford it. I don't have enough money. So what he said, you should say something else instead. If you see something you want to buy, maybe it's expensive. Instead, you should ask a question. Ask, how? How can I afford it? Don't say, I can't afford it. No, that's negative, pessimistic. Say instead, how can I afford it? You ask yourself the question, how can I afford it? So you see a Ferrari and you want it. Okay, good enough. Don't say, I can't afford it, it's too expensive. No, don't say that. Instead, ask yourself a question. How can I afford it? And this opens up, he says, when you ask the question, it opens your creativity. It opens your motivation. Because now you start thinking. You're looking for solutions. How can I afford it? How much is a Ferrari? $200,000, something like that. So you start asking, how can I make that much money? How can I do that? Right now, I don't have much money. How can I make enough money to buy a Ferrari? Well, you're going to start thinking of things. I start a business. I need to invest. I need to, whatever. You start thinking and looking for solutions. This is a much more positive way. So never say, I can't afford it. I don't have enough money. Never say that. Say, ask yourself instead, how can I? How can I? You want to travel around the world. Don't say, I can't afford it. Say, how can I afford it? How can I do that? And start asking questions. Then you'll think creatively. And finally, we get to the end of the chapter, right at the end. And he talks about just, the last thing is you have to stay humble, is basically what he's saying. That arrogance, you have to also be careful of arrogance. So you want to think positively, that's important, but don't be arrogant. What is arrogance? Arrogance means overconfidence. It means you think you know everything already. I already know everything. Some people have this attitude. They think they know everything. They don't want to listen to advice, right? They don't look for new information. They think they already know everything. That's dangerous. It's very dangerous because you don't know everything. Nobody does. So you always need to be learning, always learning. So you have to be confident, but always know that, there's always a chance of failure. There's always a chance of failure because you don't know everything and you never will. Don't let that stop you. Keep going and try, but don't be arrogant. Don't think, oh yeah, I know everything. I'm definitely going to succeed anything I do. No, you're going to have failures. Be humble. That's okay. Just don't let the failures defeat you. That's the point. That's the end of the chapter. That's it. Nice chapter, chapter 7. Let's go to questions and comments. Live. Give you a minute to type in your questions or comments, those of you watching live on Facebook. Interesting chapter. I like it. Drink a little water. And let's take a look at what people are saying now. So, make this bigger. Guillerme says, arrogancy equals sure of failure. Yes. Arrogance means you're probably going to fail because people who think they know everything make bad decisions. That's true. You must always realize there's always a chance to fail. Tell us more about the VIP program. I will a little bit. Let's focus on the book for now, and then I'll come back to that question. So I won't forget it. How are we to overcome our fear? That's a nice... is it Genelin? How do we overcome our fear? She asks. That's an excellent question. There's a nice phrase. It's a little bit of an idiom, I guess, that in English, American English, that says, feel the fear and do it anyway. So the idea of this advice, this sentence, is that in some ways you don't overcome the fear. In some ways you don't, because you still feel it. The point is you take action anyway. You take action even while you feel afraid. So you still are afraid, but you do it. I'll give you an example. A nice, easy example would be public speaking. People say, how do I overcome the fear of public speaking? Well, in some ways you don't, because in some ways, especially in the beginning, there's no way to avoid being afraid. You will feel nervous and afraid, but you just have to stand up and speak anyway. And while you're speaking in the beginning, when you're a beginner especially, and even intermediate level of public speaking, while you're speaking, you probably will be afraid. You'll be feeling very nervous as you speak, but that's okay. No problem. As long as you do it, just stand up and do it anyway. So even you feel afraid, but you're speaking. That's the key thing. Okay, that's how I did it. In the beginning, when I was doing public speaking for a long time, I was afraid and nervous every time I spoke to a group. Every time I did public speaking, I was nervous and afraid. Now, with time, it got less and less and less, of course, and I got more and more confident. But for a while, there was no way to avoid it. But what I did is I did it anyway. So you feel that fear, but then you still take action. And by taking action, you gain experience. You learn. And you get a little more confident, and the fear drops a little bit. And this is, with time, the fear will get less and less. Yeah, Dalal's kind of saying this. The wealth isn't everything. Yeah, it's not really the number that's the key thing. I agree. The most important thing is your health and your psychology of belief. And that's what Robert Kiyosaki's saying here. He's saying at the center, at the beginning, the most important thing is it's actually your psychology. And that the people who are rich, they have a different psychology about money. I've mentioned this before, that people who are very rich, or people who've just been rich for a while, their attitude about money changes. They see money as a game. They just see it as a game. To them, they're just playing. It's just play money. It's like they're playing Monopoly. So they lose some money. Are they happy? No. But they're not crying about it. They just, oh, well, right? And then they make money. They also don't get too excited about it because it's just a game to them. It's not part of their center identity. If they fail or they succeed with money, it doesn't mean they're a good person. It doesn't mean they're a bad person. It's just a game. It's part of a game of life, of our society, and they play it like a game. It's a great attitude to have about money. It takes time to do that, but I think it's a really good attitude. The more you can see money as a game, the less fear you will have. Fernandez says, I really appreciate the history of Colonel Sanders. He overcomes all of the obstacles for achieving success again. Yes, indeed. I agree. And what's cool about that story, I think, with Colonel Sanders is that his age when he did it. Because there are a lot of people, I've heard this before sometimes, oh, you have to start when you're young. You have to start when you're 20 to become rich. And especially now, there are a lot of stories in the news, entrepreneur magazines, that, all these rich kids who start tech companies, right? Zuckerberg and Facebook, good example, right? Oh, he's in college and he creates Facebook and becomes super rich. Yeah, okay, great. But it gives the idea, these stories give the idea that you must be young to do this. It's not true. And that's why the Colonel Sanders story is great. He started when he was 66 years old and then became very rich. Created a huge company. So see, at all ages, it can be done. And that's nice. I think that's a great message. Oh, this is a great suggestion. I don't know if I'll do it, but Abra says, could you do a book club about the Dhammapada? I read the Dhammapada a lot, but I've been studying it and reading it a lot recently. I'll think about that. That's nice. That's a nice suggestion. Thanks, Abra. Yeah, and here's another good point said in a different way, but same idea, and I agree. I think it's not about the money and numbers specifically. It's about the ability to live the life you want with the people that you love. There you go. And let me see if I get Kosai. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. That's a beautiful statement. I agree. That's exactly what it is. The money, what is this money? It's just a paper, right? It's just paper, it's just a numbers. You can't eat that money, okay? We all just agree that to use this paper or these numbers to trade, right? To get things we want. That's all it is. It is very much a game. When you really think about it, it's not actually worth anything. That paper, if you're starving to death, that paper will do nothing for you. If you're on an island alone and you have $100,000 in cash, paper, you're still going to starve to death. You can't eat it. You can't do anything with it. It's not actually worth anything by itself. It's just an agreement we have socially in our cultures, our society, to use it to trade things. Well, that's useful. Of course, that's useful. And it's useful to understand that game. But it is a game, very much a game. I think, again, it's great to think of it as a game. And to ask yourself, why are you playing the game of money? How do you use it skillfully? Well, what you want to do is you use that game of money to live the life you want. Exactly what he's saying. Perfectly said. You use it to live the life you want with the people that you love. What a great formula that is. That's so well said. I really love that. So that's all. That's all the money is. That's all it's useful for. That's what it's good for sometimes. Is it helpful with that? Yeah, sure it is. If you want to travel, for example, you can travel very cheaply, but it does help to have, if you have a lot of money, it's easier. It's easier. For sure it is. Right? You've got a family. You want to take care of them. It's easier if you have a lot of money. Right? Of course it is. Doesn't mean you're a good person or a bad person. Doesn't make you better than everyone else. Doesn't make you worse than everyone else. It's just a game. And, if you play the game well, life can be easier. That's the point. That's the point. I really like that. That was well said. Here's a Breaking Bad reference here. Barbara says, to afford a goal, you need to have the determination of Walter White. He knows that he needs $737,000. Breaking Bad. Yeah. That's a scary example, but yes, if you've seen Breaking Bad, you'll understand. Walter White's the main character, and he's dying. He has cancer, and he needs money. He wants to make money for his family, and he becomes a drug dealer. I don't recommend doing that. But the joke here is that he is super, super motivated, and he does all kinds of crazy, terrible stuff to get that money, and he does get it. Here's another nice comment from Mahmoud Hamdi. If you fear, you'll lose 70% of the great opportunities. This is a good point. Don't feel fear. The most important thing is how to deal with it, how to deal with the fear, and of course, never give up. Yes, see, that's a great point, though. Missed opportunities, and that is a great, great point. It's Robert Kiyosaki is trying to communicate this also. See, it's the missed opportunities. That's why fear is so terrible. It's when you let it stop you. Just feeling afraid is no problem. It's okay. Everybody does. So you don't need to worry about that. It's only a problem if it stops you. If it stops you, because then you don't see the opportunities. You're so focused on the fear. If you focus just all on the fear, I'm afraid, then you become blind in a way. You see only the fear, and then you don't see the opportunities. And you miss them. You don't take the chances. You don't take the action because you're too afraid of failure or whatever. That's when it's a problem. That's a good point. Yeah, someone, Young Jean saying, hi, AJ, this type of live is a fantastic idea. Oh, good. I'm glad you're enjoying it. To reach you easily. I hope you continue this. Yes, I will. Planning to continue doing live shows, for sure. I do recorded shows, especially the audio podcast. You know about that. Get the audio podcast, Effortless English Podcast. Use any podcasting app. And the live video shows also. Of course, I'm recording this, so if you miss a live show, don't worry about it. You get the recording. Let's see. Oh, here's a good point about generosity. When we give and help others, then we don't become slaves to money. Yeah, that's true too. And when you think about it, when you try to start a business, just a side business, be a small entrepreneur. That's all you need. You will realize quickly that what is a business? A business, you're helping people. I mean, you're giving them something. You're making their life easier. You're entertaining them. You're making them happier, giving them more convenience. I mean, this is what most successful businesses do. People pay you because you're helping them in some way. So it is a mindset of helping others is really the seed. It's the root. It's the beginning. How can I help other people? How can I solve their problems? How can I do something for them that is valuable to them, that is helpful to them? And then they'll pay me. And that's what any good business does. Now, of course, as they get big, then the people become greedy and they can do some evil stuff. We know this. But I think at the small business level, especially, what's a restaurant? Well, they're giving you food that you like, hopefully, and then you pay them. So they're doing something for you. They're helping you. They're giving you a meal that tastes good, that's convenient. You don't have to cook that night, right? It's in a small way. They're helping you, and then you're happily paying them. Mama's asking, what about doing an Instagram live show? Yeah, I'll think about that, actually. It's not a bad idea. Try it on Instagram also. Yeah, this is another way to say it. Let's see. Abdulaziz says, it's true, don't follow money. Money should follow you. It's all about your personal skills, your experiences that you learn and get possible opportunities. This leads to success. Yeah, so that's kind of that mindset of a game. It's a game. Where does the money come from? You create the money with your skills, with your creativity, with your knowledge. You create it. Think of it that way. You're creating it in many ways with your own mind. So it's not like you're chasing it. Oh, I got to get that money over there. But rather, you're doing things to create that money. That's how a lot of business people think, entrepreneurs, that the business is creating money. They're creating money. That it's a money-making machine that they're making. Okay, so this is a comment. Nisr NSR. A lot of people want to get a lot of money without any effort or thinking about how to make it. Yes, well, that's the problem of laziness that we just discussed in this chapter. For sure, you're right. And I know this from my own experience in life, trying to help some people that I know. I'm not going to say any names, but that laziness is a problem for sure. That a lot of people want it to be easy. They want easy money. This is a big problem. Easy money, this idea of easy money. Is being a teacher an expensive business? No, it's not. No. Services, usually service businesses, are fairly easy to start, meaning they're cheap to start a business. Providing a service. Teaching is a service. Now, I also have products, of course, that I sell. My courses. But they're kind of a service product, too. I'll give you another example. Something like being an accountant. You could be an accountant. You're providing a service, helping businesses with their accounting. You could do that online. You don't really need a lot of money to start that business. You need the skill, right? Of course, you need the skill of accounting. But you don't need a lot of money to start a business like that. And this is true for many services where you're using your knowledge or your skill to help people. So service businesses are good ones to look at for people who want to do a side business, a small business. It's a good way to do it. Good thing to do. Ramesh, hey Ramesh, how you doing? If we say negative things in a positive way, we can afford everything. Am I right? Kind of. It's kind of in NLP, a kind of psychology. It's called reframing. Reframing. It just means it's kind of like looking at something in a different way. It's the same reality, but you look at it one way in a negative way. Oh, I can't afford it. It's too much. I can't afford it. You just change the way you look and you instead ask the question, how can I afford it? How can I afford it? This gets you thinking in a positive way. Well, let's see, how could I make that money? Doesn't mean immediately you're going to get it. Probably not. Might take time. Might take effort, probably will, but it just gets you thinking in that positive way of looking for opportunities. Instead of looking just at the problem and complaining, you instead change your mindset and with that question, how can I afford it? Now you're looking for possibilities. Now you're looking for opportunities. It's a much better way to think. It will get you better results. Abra is saying, the book The Secret would also be interesting for a book club. Yes, it would. Kishore says, AJ, your voice is awesome and your way of delivering the content is phenomenal. Thank you. That's nice. Gina says, hello. Oh, Gina Hirayama. Hello from Japan. Well, hello from Japan also. I'm also in Japan. Kusada's, I strongly recommend, he's giving a recommendation to others. I'm a VIP member. I strongly recommend you to enroll in the VIP program, Effortless English VIP program. Thanks for the recommendation. Join my VIP program at effortlessenglishclub.com, effortlessenglishclub.com. Here's the cool thing about the VIP program. You can try it for just $1. So it's very low risk. Just see if you like it. Go to effortlessenglishclub.com. You pay $1. You try it for 10 days. So it gives you plenty of time to download everything, try a full set of lessons, actually 2 full sets of lessons, and decide if you like it or not. I think you probably will like it, but decide yourself. Just $1. effortlessenglishclub.com, my VIP program. Fahad says, you're getting older. Yes, so are you. Everyone gets older. This is what happens. Every year, you get 1 year older. Nobody avoids it. And guess what? We're all going to die. This is reality. Everyone gets older. Everyone ages. Everyone will eventually die. This is reality. No point in getting upset about it because you cannot avoid that. Yeah, so Abdul Karim says, money is really essential. It's important, but it never brings happiness. Right. It's not the thing that creates happiness. It can make things in life easier, right? But just the money itself will not make you happy. And as we all know, we've talked about this before. We can all look in the celebrity stories and we can see so many examples of celebrities who became rich, and usually, especially when they become rich easily, right? Somebody finds them, puts them in a movie, and suddenly they're rich and famous. And they didn't really create that themselves. I think that's one of the big dangers. Or somebody wins the lottery. They just get lucky. Some people dream about that and think that's the key to success, happiness. It's actually usually the key to unhappiness. So what a lot of people don't understand about money is that the process of making the money in a honest way, by building a business, by investing, that process is actually very important. It helps you to be happier with money when you do get rich. It teaches you self-discipline. And you know you're earning it. You know you're earning it because you're learning these skills and you're having to work at it very hard. So then when you become rich, you have a lot more self-control. The money does not destroy you. But a lot of people who are poor or middle class and suddenly get a huge amount of money, athletes, celebrities, people like that, not all, of course, but many of them are destroyed, right? They get all this money suddenly. What do? They start doing drugs. They just go crazy. All their bad habits, all the problems and emotional problems in their life get bigger instantly. So Sometimes we think, oh, I don't want to work so hard. But actually the working hard for the money is important. That's an important step. You want to do that. It teaches you discipline. It teaches you how to overcome fear. It teaches you how to take risks. It teaches you how to fail and not be too afraid of failure. So that process makes you stronger. So when you do become rich, you can handle it, right? You know you're calm. You don't go crazy because you have learned how to be disciplined with money and disciplined in your life. So don't wish for suddenly. Don't wish. People think that's a good wish. It's a terrible wish. If a magic genie comes to you one day and says, "What do you want? He'll give you 3 wishes." Don't wish to be instantly rich. Don't do it. Ask for love, ask for wisdom, ask for something like that. Ask to be a better person. Those are better things to focus on. And he's asking, do you think to make money you have to bring value? I do think in business you do. Yes. Yeah. Even investing for sure, but in business to make money, to really make money, do you have to bring value? It means you add something valuable to someone's life. Yes, at some level, yes. That's why people pay you money. That's why people pay you, because you do something useful or helpful for them. Even entertainment. Why do we pay for movies? Well, because they make us laugh, or they entertain us for a short time. They make us forget our problems for a while. That's still giving us some value. It's doing something for us. And that's why we pay them. So it's a really good way to think when you start a business yourself. How can I help other people? And that's really at the bottom of your business. How can I help other people in a useful way, in a way that they want, that's helpful to them, that's useful to them, that they value? That will create your business. A good way to do that is to solve problems. I've mentioned this in other shows. That's also a great way to think. When you're trying to think of a business idea, what kind of business should I start? You imagine problems. How can I solve a problem for other people? That's often a very, very, very good business. If a lot of people have a problem and you solve it for them, you do something to solve the problem, to solve it, or even just to make it a little better, they will pay you. They will pay you for that. I'll give you a really kind of funny example. In some cities in the United States, in San Francisco and New York, for example, there are people who have businesses. What do? They walk dogs. They walk other people's dogs. That's the business, and they make money, and some of them are quite successful. Why? Well, because people in these cities, there's not much space, and they're very, very busy, and they have dogs in their apartments. They go to work all day. What to do with the dog? Well, if you have a big yard, you can put them outside and they can run around and pee and everything outside and get some exercise. But in a big city, tight city like San Francisco or New York, like there's no yard, nothing. So their dogs are just stuck in the apartment all day. So people will pay someone else to come get the dog and walk them outside and let them pee and give them a little exercise. That's a business. They're helping people, helping their pets, actually. So you see, it can be almost anything. Solving problems. That's definitely the way to think as a business person. How can I help people solve problems? What problems can I solve for people? A good thing is look at your own life. Like, what problems do I have in my life that are annoying? What problems are really annoying to me? You can take that thing in your life that's annoying you, that you don't like, and you can actually use it as an opportunity to start a business. You can say, well, if I hate this, maybe other people hate it too. If I help other people avoid this annoying problem or solve this annoying problem, they might pay me. You got a business. Abra saying, in a year using your effortless English system, I have made huge progress. Unbelievable. Great, Abra. Thank you so much. Thanks for that recommendation. I appreciate it. Of course, that's how I support myself, is when you buy my courses and join my VIP program. I give you a lot for free. I give you these podcasts for free. I give you my audiobook for free. Lots and lots of free stuff. How do I make money in my own business? When you buy my courses, when you join my VIP program. And of course, I'm working to help you speak fluently, speak confidently. Improve your English, your spoken English. Speak at an advanced level. That's how I'm trying to help you, and that's why I get paid. And this is just a good way to think, because see, you're giving and then you receive. You give help, you give value, you help solve problems, and then you receive. You receive money, you receive payment, you receive something. You give and then you receive. And the more you give and the better you give, the more you will receive. It's really actually very nice psychologically. If you think about it, it's a really positive way to think. Very nice. Okay, next question from Mohammed again. Yusuf. Do you know about any merchandise by Amazon? Is it a good way to earn money as a freelancer? I think I know what you're talking about. It's called affiliate, being an affiliate. This is where you sell products, other people's products, on Amazon.com, or there are other websites that do this too. And so you're selling some other product that somebody else made. But when people buy it, when they buy it from your website, when they use your link to buy it, you get a percent. Is that a good way to start? Yeah, it is, actually. It is good. Now, you have to learn. There's skills about this. You have to learn, study it. But you can look up affiliate marketing, affiliate business. Some people get very rich doing this. I personally haven't done it, so I can't give you specific advice other than just do some research about it. But yes, I do know people make money doing that, and some people do very well. Nasi says, we're learning English and we're also learning to make money. Yeah, it's a good combination. Okay, so this is interesting. Hello, AJ. This is Nasser again. Why do people constantly focus on the right or wrong mindset? Why the focus on mindset? I know my question's out of topic, but it's not really out of topic because it's connected to what we're talking about. Well, it's because of what I was saying at the beginning of the show, that this mindset, and mindset means attitude, it means way of thinking. And very generally, it's our thoughts and our emotions, our thinking and our feelings. Why? Why do we focus on this so much? Why do we talk about it so much? In Effortless English, in my book, I talk about it a lot, connected to learning English. In Robert Kiyosaki's book, he's talking about it a lot. You're going to see this topic again and again and again and again, especially when you read about self-help or success, something like that. But so the question Nasser has is why? Why do so many people focus on this issue? And it's because what I said at the beginning, because this is the root of all the results you get in life. I was going to say success, but really success, failure, doesn't matter. Your life in general is created by the way you think, how you feel, your attitude. This is what creates what kind of life you will have. Because this is where your power is. This is where your power is. Now none of us are completely powerful, of course not. So there's the world. Things happen in the world. Things will happen to you. Good things, bad things will happen. And some things we have no power about, right? We have no power. What happens to the economy? No power. Political stuff, all that kind of stuff. No power about that. We can't control it. We have no power. So there's no point focusing on that, right? There's no point. It does nothing. It just makes you weak. So where is our power? Where is our personal power? Where does it come from? It comes from how we use our mind, how we think, how we use our feelings, how we feel, and how we master our feelings. And then, of course, that those two create our actions, our decisions and our actions. That's our power in life. How we choose to think and control our minds, self-discipline, how we choose to control and use our emotions, our emotional discipline, and then, of course, finally, our decisions and our actions. That's the source. It's really all of it up here in our minds. That's the source of our power. That decides the direction of our life. Something happens in the world, we have no control. Something good or something bad. But then what's next? The important step is what's next. Well, that depends on our mind. Let's say something bad happens, right? There's a failure. Like Robert Kiyosaki talking about. There's a failure, a big failure. The Alamo. Okay? So the next question is, well, what do we do about it? We could just cry and become depressed and do nothing. And then we will have a depressing, negative life. Or we could become motivated and focus on solutions and ask ourselves questions. How can I overcome this? And we'll try things. We might fail again, but then we try again. We keep learning. We keep trying things. We get more and more motivated. And then what? We create a more positive life, a more happier life. We achieve the goals and the successes that we want. Like the Texans did, right? They lost the Alamo, big loss. They didn't surrender. They didn't quit. They kept fighting. They used that as big motivation. They became independent. Later, they joined the United States. So this is why it's such, to answer your question, Nasser, this is why it's such an important topic and why you will see this topic in many different areas, because this is really the only thing we have control over in our lives. If you think about it, it's the only thing really you can control. It's the only place you truly have power, 100% power in your life. It's your own thinking, your own mind, your own decisions. That's all. That you control. That you have power over. The rest of the world, you don't. So you must focus on where you have your power. And that's what successful people do. That's what rich people do, what happy people do. We're all trying to do this, okay? And it takes time and we keep learning. Nobody's perfect, but this is the area where this is where you want to focus in life. It will give you a better life. Gina's saying, yes, I've heard, sir, you've been here in Osaka before. Yes, I'm in Osaka right now. Okay, Ozma's asking about our next book. What will be the next book? Will you let us know? Our next book, I've already decided our next book. It's Dumbing Us Down by John Taylor Gatto, one of the great teachers in the United States for sure. Fantastic book about education. Dumbing Us Down. It's about education. It's about schools. Mostly it's focused on the problems of schools, but we'll focus on solutions too. And how do we overcome these problems of school? What's the solution for us in our life? But it's a great book, an important book, because it helps us to understand some of our fears and where they come from. A lot of these fears are put into us at a young age in the school systems. So I think it's a very important book to read, Dumbing Us Down. It's a different topic too. So our first book was political, Animal Farm. This one's about money, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And the next one will be about education, Dumbing Us Down by John Taylor Gatto. So I like a variety of topics for our book club. Oh, another nice wins, giving a nice recommendation. Thank you. Hi, I'm from Vietnam. I know and use effortless English. From 2014, it's given me good listening skills. It's an effective product for people who learn English. Well, thank you for the recommendation. Thank you. Muhammad says, you're an amazing teacher. I've known you for 4 years. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Okay, so Zahra says, I think money solves many problems in life. This is true. For example, if you have a sick child and you can't pay, or if you're sick yourself, it's very important. Yes, that's why we do it, right? And that's why I'm talking about it. Will a lot of money suddenly make you happy and everything's perfect? No, but it's useful. We all know it's useful. That's why we have jobs. That's why we work. That's why we have jobs. Because in our society, in our modern economies, money is what we need to get what we want, the basic stuff of life. If you have a farm, you can grow your own food. But if you're not a farmer, well, you need money to buy it, right? For a house or an apartment or whatever. If you want something like that, you need money to rent that or buy it, etc., right? Clothes, all the basic stuff in life, and also just the fun toys of life, like, cell phones and things like that. They all require money. So for sure, it's useful. It's useful. It's useful. There are lots of things in life that are useful. Doesn't mean they're not the most important thing of life, but they are useful. And so money is useful. And the problem is we don't learn about it. This is the problem. It's not that money is the point of life. It's not. But it's very useful, especially in our modern economies, our modern world. So it's just a skill. It's something we need, but they don't teach us about money in school. I didn't learn. Did you? Did they teach you how to get rich and how to manage money? How to be financially free? Did they teach you in school? Most of us know. Did your parents teach you this? Most of us know. And yet it's such a big part of our life. Zahar is 100% correct. We do need it, and it's very, very useful for many problems and many situations in life. So we should know about it, right? It's kind of like fitness, health and fitness. That's also super important, right? If you're weak physically and sick physically and eating bad food all the time, you're also going to be less healthy, less happy, and you're going to have many more problems in your life. So health and fitness, also important. Also very, very important. So again, it's useful. We're all going to die, so eventually that's gone. But meanwhile, while we're still alive, health and fitness, super important. So we need to learn about it. We need to know about it, be skillful. It's a good thing to know and to do well. Money's the same. Money's useful. It's a useful skill. It's useful to us during our life. For sure it is. Absolutely yes, and that's why we're learning about it. Don't worship money, but on the other hand, you want to use it skillfully, and that's why I say it's really nice to think of it as a game. I think a game attitude towards money is perfect. We all like games. We want to win games, so you can be very motivated in a game. You can work hard in a game, right? You can give a lot of effort in a game. You can try your best to win the game, but at the same time, you realize it's a game. It's a game. So that makes you a little more relaxed. It makes you, see the game differently. That, okay, I'm not going to be too serious about it. I'm going to relax about it and enjoy it. It's just a game. That's a nice way to look at it. That's why I like this idea of money as a game. So try to win the game. Do your best. But realize it is just a game. Ezra says, being an independent teacher, like a private teacher like you're the boss. You don't need to handle the garbage from the administration like schools. Yes. That's why I started Effortless English. That's exactly why. I didn't imagine I was going to become super rich, but I did want to be free. I wanted to be my own boss. This is one of the advantages of being financially free. So you can be financially free and not super rich. You can be financially free and you don't have a huge house, you don't have a Ferrari, none of that. You can still live very simply, but you're free. It means you're not a slave to money, you're not a slave to jobs. That's wonderful. That's exactly correct. Here's a nice from Destin. Destin says, Rich Dad, Poor Dad is really a perfect book. I've had a lot of fun, learned a lot reading it. And I also downloaded the other book you recommended, Your Money or Your Life. I hope you will also suggest such books to us. Thank you. That is a great book, Destin. I'm glad you mentioned that. That's another nice book about money. So after we finish Rich Dad, if you want to continue learning about money, I do recommend that book. It's a good second book. It's like a good follow-up, like a good sequel to Rich Dad, is Your Money or Your Life. Your Money or Your Life. It's different focus than Rich Dad, Poor Dad, for sure. It really focuses more on living simply, reducing your expenses, being free from money, for not being a slave to money. But it's a nice combination with Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I think the two go together well. They teach different skills, different ideas, and you can use both very well. So it's called Your Money or Your Life is the name of the book. Your Money or Your Life. Destin, thank you for the recommendation. It's really good. Good. Okay, Fahad says, thank you for your sense of humor. You're modest. Your way of delivering this topic is nice. Well, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Albert again talking about the VIP program. I love your mini stories. They are fantastic. Thank you. They're fun to do. Those mini stories and the point of view stories are kind of the center, the root of the Effortless English system and my lessons. Those are the most important lessons. For sure they are. They seem funny and silly, but they're actually for your English learning and your training, improving. The mini stories, the interactive lessons, sometimes I do those, movie technique lessons, and all of those kind of lessons, they're really the center, the most important ones. Okay, so here's another way of thinking about it. And I'm sorry I can't pronounce Vietnamese names very well. Huynh, maybe. Hi, Jay. I love the Maslow's hierarchy. Maslow, famous psychologist of the past, describes the importance of everything in our life, especially money. Yeah, okay, so that's another way of looking at it. This hierarchy of values, meaning ranking, what's top, next. And the idea from Maslow is that it's an order. It makes sense. You think about it. So, for example, his point is, the first thing, one of the first things you need are just food. You need food, or you're going to die. You're going to starve to death. And so, if you're starving, if you don't have food, what will happen? You will focus on food. Your whole brain, everything will just be focused completely on food. Must get food. You probably will not be thinking about love and romance, vacations, other stuff like that, philosophy, okay? You're not going to be thinking about those things because you're going to die if you don't get food very soon. So you have this, right, a biological need. This is one of the first needs. It comes first. Without food, you can't do other things because you just die. So food is right at the beginning. You got to get food. Does that mean food is the most important thing in life? Biologically, maybe it's one of the most important, but not necessarily for your spiritually or something. But you have to take care of that. You got to get food. You got to eat. This is also true for shelter and things like that, right? And as we take care of these more basic needs, then what? Then our focus, we start to look at higher things, right? Then we start looking at philosophy. Then we start looking at, maybe at the very top, religion, love, things like that. But it's hard to think about those things, love and philosophy and religion, when you're starving. That's kind of the point. And so we could think about money as this way, right? Money is a tool. It's somewhere there. Maybe it's down lower on those needs. You need it because with money, you buy food. With money, you buy shelter. With money, you buy clothes. So for sure, it's a good, necessary tool in our modern world. Does that mean it's the highest, most important thing? No. How can I find your book? Where to buy it? My book, I have a website just for my book, only for my book. It's effortlessenglish.com. So no club, just effortlessenglish.com. You can find links to my book there. You can find my book on many different book sites like Amazon, Kobo. But just go to effortlessenglish.com and you'll see more information about my book. Here, dogs are so cheap, Sukar says. Abra, Day of the Dead is my favorite mini story. Yeah, it's a good one. That was a cool one. Here's an interesting question. Well, this is a really interesting question. I gotta talk about this one. Jimmy Pierre, this is a fascinating question. Can meditation help people make money? Well, that's not something we usually think about, but that's a really interesting idea, isn't it? I think yes. I'll tell you why. How could meditation possibly help you with money? Well, because what is meditation? There are many different ways to meditate, but I'll tell you one technique. The technique I actually use right now. It's called Anapana in Sanskrit, I think it is. Pali or Sanskrit. Anyway, that's not important. What's important is just breathing meditation. You sit and you just focus on your breathing. You put all of your attention on your breathing, the air coming in, the air coming out. Why do you do this? It focuses your mind. It gives you control, mental control. It's a technique, training yourself to control your thoughts, your attention. Now, what happens is as you do this, you also calm your emotions. You might be distracted. You might be angry from something. You might be sad. But what happens is as you meditate more and you become more skillful at it, practice it more, you learn to calm all of these emotions. That the process of meditation, you actually just learn these emotions all get more calm. And that's why I think it could help you actually make money. Because, as Robert Kiyosaki said in this chapter, one of the main problems that people have making money is dealing with these emotions, these sometimes very powerful emotions like fear. Earlier in the show, we had a question, how do I overcome fear? I gave one answer, but this is another answer. Meditation actually is a very good. It's not instant. You got to practice it. It's a skill, really, that you improve with time. But it helps you to see and understand emotions and to take control of your own mind. You take control of your own thoughts. You use this mental discipline. And in many ways, you learn how to calm your emotions down. And then you make better decisions. Your mind is more clear. You think more clearly. You make better decisions. So I think that would help. I think it's not the only thing, just meditation. I mean, a lot of monks meditate every day. They have no money at all. So it's not the only thing, but I think it could be actually helpful. More importantly, it's just I think it's helpful in all of life. Interesting question. Sukar says, I envy people who get money only for walking dogs. Well, you could try to start that business. I don't know where you live, but I think the dog walking business is mostly successful in large cities. But hey, there are many opportunities, okay? Many, many, many. It's just one small example. Eddie asks, how do we become rich starting from the bottom? That's a nice question. It's called bootstrapping. This is a slang word. Bootstrapping means you start from nothing and then you lift up yourself. Usually we're talking about money with bootstrapping. Starting from nothing and then building up little by little, step by step to become rich or to become financially free. So what you have to do is you have to start with something small that requires no money or very little money to start. I mean, my own business, I started very, 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 very cheaply. So internet businesses are a good choice. Services, as I mentioned before, many services you can start with no money or very little money. The dog walking one is an example. You don't need any money, really, not much, to start that business. So you start with something like that, and then you work. It's hard work in the beginning, and you start making some money. As you get more money, what do you do with your extra money? You invest it. You buy assets. And then you get more income. And as you get more income, you take that and you buy more assets. And then you keep going up, step by step. What you don't do, you don't take that money and buy a bunch of nice and have a party or something. That's what the celebrities do. That's why many of them become poor, even though they're making huge amounts of money. Dalit asks, how can I join your VIP program? Go to effortlessenglishclub.com. If you're watching on video, you'll see it. It's on the screen right now, effortlessenglishclub.com. Go there and you read about my VIP program. All my courses are at that website. Another interesting, well, you guys have some really fascinating questions. Victor, do you believe that to be an integral man, kind of like a complete man, it's necessary to have money, financial freedom? I would say the second one, financial freedom. I mean, there are people, monks, I think are the best example, who don't have money, but they do have freedom. I think freedom's the key one. Now, most of us don't want to become monks, but it's a good I have great respect for people who become monks, who give up all money, all material things to meditate and pray, and holy people like that. But they're free from money in a way, right? They also are free from money. They do it in a very different way. They completely give up money, and they only accept what's given to them. So I think freedom is the key thing. Freedom, financial, I would call that financial freedom also. It's not something most of us will do, but some people do it, and I think that they gain a great deal. So it's that taking the control and the power of your own mind and your own life as much as you can. That's the key point. For most of us, that does mean financial freedom the way Robert Kiyosaki's teaching us. Most of us who want to be in the world and working normally and having family and all those things, then the Robert Kiyosaki way is the more normal way. But hey, if you want to become a sadhu or a monk or something like that, it's okay. It's okay. I respect that path also. This is a good question. Abdul Aziz again. Such an incredible, interesting book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, by Robert Kiyosaki. Why don't they teach it in schools? I wish I had this earlier, a more useful experience for me. Me too. Took me a long time to learn this stuff. Why don't they teach it in schools? A few reasons. Number one, I'll give you maybe the nice reasons and then maybe the not nice, the evil reasons. On the nice side, I would say most teachers have no idea about this. They just don't know. Think about it. Most people, teachers working in schools, they're not good with money. They're money slaves, right? They're making a little paycheck and they're like everybody else. So they don't understand any of this stuff. So how can they teach it? They don't know it. Now at the higher level, why don't they hire people to teach this? I think that the people at the top with the power, they don't want us all to be rich and free. Right? They don't want a society of completely financially free people. They want kind of slaves in a way, people who are slaves to money, because then they can control people. Easier to control people. I think that's the deeper political reason. All right, I think it's almost time. My voice is getting tired. It's an hour and a half, a long one today. Well, we've had great questions today, really interesting questions. Just quickly rolling through. Okay, I'm going to finish with Abra because he has a good summary of many of the ideas, many of the things we've been discussing, and then I'm going to finish here. Really good show, too. I want to thank you guys today because the questions were really good today. Really great comments and questions. It made me think about some new ideas myself because of your questions and comments. So I want to thank those who are watching live and contributing. And I'm sorry if I didn't get your comment. I just can't. It's hard for me to get all of them. Okay, so I'm not trying to ignore you. It's just I'm doing the show. I look over at the comments. I try to answer as many as I can. But really, really good ones today. I appreciate. Thank you so much. Thank you for your great, contributions today to the show. Fantastic. So we're going to finish with Abra again because this is a nice little comment. It's a good summary. Some say that money is bad. It is not money that is bad, but human greed. Excellent. I agree. It's not the money. What is money? Money's just a tool. It's like saying a hammer is bad, right? It's like saying this knife is bad. Is this knife bad? No, it's not bad. It's not good. It's just a knife. Now, if I stab someone with it, that's bad, right? But if I use it to cook, that's good, right? How am I using this tool? That's all it is. And money, I think, is exactly the same. It's the love of money, the worship of money as a god. That's what's evil. This greed, that takes over people. And then they begin more. Must have more. And then they hurt people and they lie and they do terrible things to get more. That's bad. We all know that's bad. None of us want to be that way. But we see it around us everywhere, right? It's this worship of money. And I think it comes from ignorance. I think it comes from people thinking. These people think that's going to make them happier, but it doesn't. And this is the problem. So they think, if I get money, I'll be happy. And then I just need to be rich. So they get the money, and this is their idea. And then everything's not perfect. They still have problems. There's still problems in their life. And so what do they think? I need more. If I have a Ferrari, then I'll be happy. Then everything will be perfect. And they go and they get more. They buy the Ferrari. But then they still have problems. They're still having problems in their life. They're not completely happy. And so, I need more then. And then it never ends. They just keep more. And they're worshiping the money. They're not using it just as a tool. We see it. We know this, and every religion talks about this. All the major religions talk about this as a huge problem. This endless greed can destroy people. It will destroy people. It causes people to do terrible, evil things. We see this. No, of course not. No, we don't want that. So this is why, like Robert Kiyosaki says, we want to approach money in a calm way. And again, seeing it just as a game, right? As a game, you don't get crazy about it. You don't think the game will solve every problem in your life. No, you play the game. You use the money skillfully, hopefully to help people too. Make your life a little easier, solve problems. You can use it. You can be generous. You can give it to people and help other people too. That's it. It will not make your life perfect. No. But is it useful? Yes, it's a useful tool. Just like this knife. This knife is useful, right? It can be used for lots of useful things, but I'm not going to worship the knife, right? No. I think that's the point. So well said, Abra. Thank you for summarizing that point. That's it, guys. Great show today. Really enjoyed it. Great show because of you, because you added so many interesting questions and comments. Appreciate it so much. I'll be back again tomorrow, at least with an audio show. So, of course, make sure you follow me on the audio podcast. Get a podcasting app, any app you want, Podcast Addict, iTunes, anything. Subscribe to my audio podcast, Everett's English Podcast, and get those extra audios. I'm doing some interesting ones, actually, recently, some interesting topics. So, hope you'll join that, too. Thank you so much. Love you guys. Thank you. As always, go to effortlessenglishclub.com. Join my VIP program at effortlessenglishclub.com. See you next time.